My name is Addie. I have been working in cybersecurity for 14 years. Um, I actually got started in it way earlier than that whenever I was a little girl. I was obsessed with saving the sea turtles. And then my sisters kept breaking into my password journals. So I got really interested in securing my information to protect it from them.
Agreed.
Primarily. So that kind of got me into the computers. And then after that, I ended up joining the military to be a hacker. That didn't really work out because my job was more cryptography and cybersecurity instead of hacking. And after that, I left the military and have been doing cybersecurity on my own, as well as working in a little bit of more crypto stuff. But now I run my own cybersecurity Wikipedia resources, and I'm trying to teach people how to manage their own cybersecurity and learn how to hack.
Oh,
That's my career for the most part.
okay, that's really exciting. You've been doing this since you were born to do this.
Yes,
I love
yes,
that. Were there
yes.
any crucial things along your journey in college or during your time in the military that led you specifically into the general cybersec direction?
Yes. So whenever I joined initially, I wanted to really hone in on cybersecurity. And whenever I was kind of thrown into the Air Force, I got really excited when it came to cryptography specifically. Like it made sense for me for some reason. So I ended up really specializing in that because that was also part of what my job was. I was encrypting communications and stuff like that. My journey through college didn't come until a lot later. So I only started going to university when I was in my late 20s. I actually ended up trying online school. Like, I think I tried 10 different schools and I had
Wow.
to rage quit every single one of them until I found Western Governors University. And like the tech mindset that I feel people who do well in cybersecurity or people who do well in computer science in general, I feel like Western Governors University is like the thing that will help them tick all those boxes. Because to me,
Gotcha.
I like learning through experience. And then through Western Governors University, if you have that experience, you can just test it and then you can get your degree. So I'm not a huge fan of like, for me personally, and I don't think everyone needs to do this, but I do encourage education, but it doesn't always have to be formal education. I think there are so many different ways that people can get into tech through like securing their own networks, through participating in events like Capture the Flags, or just by paying attention to algorithms on social media. Because,
Beautiful.
cybersecurity and computer science, the health kind of extends beyond just the computers themselves. It
Mhm.
extends to your quality of life and your way of interacting with technology. All of those things led me to really want to open people's eyes to how they can protect themselves from all sorts of threats in the environment now. And I think also a big aspect is that a lot of cybersecurity extends to enterprise solutions only. And there are very few people actually trying to teach individuals how to secure their own networks. So for me, the application of cybersecurity and its impact on society, that intersection, how it relates to all the systems that hold up our world, that is the thing that got me the most interested in tech and a career like that.
That's super inspiring. I really love
Oh,
the
thank you.
journey. I really
Thank
love the
you.
journey. You mentioned you had your first job in the military in
Mhm.
encrypted communications. Well, how did you land that job in the first place?
When you go to join the military, they have this thing called the ASVAB. It's like an entrance test.
Okay.
And I have a lot of thoughts about this test because, funny enough,
Hmm.
I'm autistic, but I noticed that just about everybody else in my career field ended up being autistic too. So this might be a little bit in conspiracy territory, but I feel like the military has kind of designed a test that kind of determines what kind of a thinker you are. Whenever you take this entrance test, it'll place you, if you have the pattern recognition skills to do cryptography, they'll accept you for that job. And that was one of the ones that was available. You also get to rank the ones that you choose. So when my recruiter gave me options, I definitely opted for, it was called Cybersecurity, which I assumed would be hacking, but it's really just governance, risk, and compliance for the military. essentially.
I love that you mentioned governance, risk, and compliance.
Yeah.
So the little research I've been doing, if you're trying to get into cybersecurity without being super technical, governance, risk, and compliance is the way to go. Could you tell me more about
Yes.
that?
Yes. So I absolutely love governance, risk, and compliance for that reason specifically. You don't have to be super technical to get into it. I see it more as a job comparable to a librarian, because what you have to understand is how cybersecurity policies affect what you are able to and are not able to do with a cybersecurity system. So the good thing about this is that cybersecurity principles transcend technologies, which means that whenever you get into cybersecurity, you don't have to keep up with every new technology that comes out. All you have to do is really understand the cybersecurity principles that underlie it. And so whenever you work in governance, risk, and compliance, you're just assessing other people's ability to apply those regulations. So if you have the ability to understand where regulations come from and you're able to pinpoint exactly where the guidance comes from, then you will do a great job. It's more of being able to find information. You don't have to memorize really anything. Actually, it's discouraged to memorize things because it updates so quickly and you need to have justification and support. So yes, governance, risk, and compliance is an incredible route to go if you're not highly technical.
And for someone who might just be graduating high school, might just be coming out of college, might just be joining the military,
Yeah.
how could they possibly start to get into GRC?
If you want to start getting into GRC, what you should do is first start familiarizing yourself with NIST principles. They're all published online. It's the National Institute of Standards and Technologies, as well as like the ISO regulations. So you can just kind of understand where the policies are coming from. And
Right.
then you can look at those regulations and then look at the baselining, which baselining means the minimum amount of security measures required to protect an information system. You can start baselining your own home network based off of that. You could do your own risk. RMS stands for Risk Management Framework. So if you familiarize yourself with the risk management framework itself and start applying it into your everyday life, that's an incredible way to start inching into governance, risk, and compliance in a simple way. Because governance, risk, and compliance, it doesn't just extend to cybersecurity, it extends to every aspect of your life. And if you understand this topic called asymmetric risk, which means that you're taking a risk that has a very high upside for benefits and a very small risk of downside, which would be something like starting a personal brand, or going on a first date. There's a low risk of something terrible coming out of it, but there's a very high risk of something good coming out of it.
Okay.
And if you take that and start applying it into your everyday life, you'll be able to start extending that to the information systems a whole lot easier. And if you can show that you were able to apply RMF, which is probably one of the most important aspects of governance, risk, and compliance, if you can show that you have an understanding of that, then you will do great things in GRC. Through interviews, you just have to understand it at its most foundational level.
Nice, nice. So basically, we're securing our own lives and managing our own risks to better understand risk management, and we can use our understanding of risk management in interviews to showcase to an employer that we have a good understanding that we can apply to the systems for larger organizations.
Exactly. And if you want to take it a step farther, one thing that I keep noticing, because I'm just now switching into ethical hacking, I did 14 years as blue team, so I was doing cybersecurity only. And right now I'm starting to get into ethical hacking. And the first thing that I'm trying to do is hack my own Wi-Fi systems, hack my own network, just to see how to do it. And the craziest thing is that it is shockingly simple to do. Like, you don't need to have a cybersecurity background to do that. You can just get a Wi-Fi adapter that's maybe $50 that can go into monitor mode, and then you can try and crack your own Wi-Fi network. It's extremely simple. All it is, it's like following a recipe, to be honest. Like, I create guides on my site so that I can familiarize myself with things. Every time I go through, I document the process so I can return back to it. And if you start doing that with like all the foundational aspects of cybersecurity and documenting your process and documenting your findings, then you will go so far.
You did just mention you create guides on your site. I'm sure some of the guides would
Yes.
love to take a look at that. What site is
Yes.
it?
So my site is AddieLaMarr.com.
This me.
I also run a newsletter about improving your life with technology. So I take everything that I've learned from my experience in cybersecurity, and I use that to tackle mental health with algorithms. So how to manipulate the algorithms to support your goals, how to protect yourself from the surveillance state, because all of our devices now have things that are passively listening to us, like how to secure your home against Internet of Things, because all of those are little tiny listening devices that are just collecting us out of context too. So there's a lot of dangerous things that could be used to support all sorts of stuff. So that's the kind of the angle that I try to take. I'm trying to help inform individuals on how to protect themselves from all threats, essentially.
When you're just in college and you're just coming out, or you've just finished high school and you're trying to figure out what to do with your adult life, getting into a field that you're interested in looks really scary. So I love how you said, it's not that hard, guys.
It really isn't. That was the most shocking thing to me, because I spent all this time, 14 years, building it up in my mind that it was going to be this astronomically difficult task. And all the guys and the tech bros and stuff that I talked to who were hackers and stuff, they seemed so hardcore, and they were just special forces, basically. I'm it. But then whenever it comes to it, it's literally following a recipe, cooking in the kitchen. It couldn't be easier. All you have to do is swap in a little bit of details, and you just have it. So I think that a big way that people can get super interested in cybersecurity is just by exploring that and downloading Kali Linux. I have a tutorial for how to make it cute, because that's the first thing I always want to do in order to use it. I have to make everything customized or have little hearts on it. Because if you do that, you'll be more willing to use it and you'll familiarize yourself, because it's more fun and aesthetically pleasing. So yeah,
that's fun.
All those things.
I always have to make it look cute. That's so real. Talking about the tech bros, are there any challenges that you have faced in the general area of cybersecurity that you think you faced specifically because you were a woman? And how did you overcome those challenges?
Yes, so I still struggle with this to this day. 14 years in, and most of the issues that I can say that I have genuinely stem from people assuming that I am unintelligent or I do not know what I'm talking about. So I'm still trying to overcome that by putting myself out there and just exposing myself to allow other people to see me. And I think that has a lot to do with it, because a lot of the times, in order to stay safe, a lot of us downplay ourselves to prevent ourselves from getting attention from other people, because that attention doesn't feel safe. So if you do start embracing yourself and becoming 100% unapologetically yourself and just do it scared, that is the biggest thing that I can say. Because what I've realized that the vast majority of people who try to put you down in tech, it's because they feel threatened. This might get a little bit too deep, but a lot of times people have these unconscious biases that make them feel like other people are just inherently inferior to them. And whenever they encounter somebody who they find inferior, it really challenges their ego. So that causes, maybe that causes them to feel mad, and then they take it out on you. So you just have to understand that it's not personal. You being there is an act of defiance. It is an act of protest. And the longer that you're there, and the more you stand up for yourself and your ideas, the further you will go and the more you'll be able to deal with it. But it's to be honest, it's not something that really ever goes away. It's just something that you learn to work around.
You being there is an act of defiance. It's nothing personal.
It is.
I love that so much. Do you believe? Because I know some people don't believe in such a thing as a work-life balance. So I feel the need to start with, do you believe in a work-life balance, and how do you maintain it if you do?
Absolutely. I am the biggest proponent for a work-life balance. I feel that we should work to live, not live to work. So a really great aspect of cybersecurity and governance, risk, and compliance is that you have an excellent work-life balance. You don't really have to take work home. It stays at work where you're doing your librarian stuff. So getting into governance, risk, and compliance for me as an autistic woman who has very, very low energy already is kind of my way of achieving that work-life balance, because one, you can often be remote. Two, you don't have to work that much with people. So it's great for people who maybe have like traumatic backgrounds and don't love being around people a lot and can work independently on their own. It's a great opportunity for that. And the pay really allows you to live a life with autonomy. Like I'm a digital nomad. Right now I'm living in Mexico with my boyfriend for the time being, but I usually am constantly traveling because I get sick if I'm in the same place for a long time, you know? But the lifestyle that governance, risk, and compliance gives you, in my opinion, is the best possible lifestyle in tech, as well as also like the trajectory for promotions.
It's true. I love that.
Yes.
I have to ask, what advice would you give to young women who are interested in pursuing a career?
I that is my advice for women, but I have broad advice too.
Okay, so I'll ask you.
So, okay. So my biggest piece of broad advice is, if you're starting in governance, risk, and compliance, to start a knowledge management system like a second brain in either Obsidian or Notion. And I have published mine. That's one of the resources that I do. I've published all of my notes from my 14 years in cybersecurity there. And it's an incredible way to not have to remember anything. You kind of figure out your format for how you're going to have it. And then whenever you learn new things, you just add the information. You can use ChatGPT to format it. So the way that I do it is, whenever I learn things, I take my notes and then I just plug it into ChatGPT and ask it to turn this into a second brain entry. And so my second brain entry has all the different things that I need to know for my job about that. So one section would be like exploitable weaknesses. So whenever I'm going through doing my research on like this specific thing, I can see what possible exploits I could do on it. And it's just right there. So I don't have to keep researching, and you can just all tie it together and publish it from the get-go. So that will, one, improve your personal brand, which is really important for getting hired in governance, risk, and compliance. And then two, it'll improve your ability to be a good librarian by tying back everything that you learn to the specific policies. So if I'm covering something like identity and access management, I would tag the specific, my entry for the specific NIST cybersecurity policy, and then I'd have like some sort of summary for the most important parts, or things that people commonly miss, or just things that are like insider knowledge that you would only get over a career. And you just compile that in one place and publish it. And then that will, one, help everybody else who's coming behind you have a much easier time. It will make your personal brand, it will give you authority even if you're still learning. So when you're learning in public, you can also be contributing to your industry knowledge and your sense of authority in the industry. So even if you're not in college or don't have a job, there are so many things that you can do to start exhibiting your experience and proving to other people that you understand the foundational aspects of it.
Right. Because like if you create this like knowledge management system / second brain, like you say, I would assume it's pretty easy to show a recruiter like, here, look, this is everything that I've learned and I'm not lying. And they'd be like, oh yes, I can see that you understand that. I love that. That's so great. I'm curious. You mentioned using either Notion or Obsidian. Which one do you use and how do you use it?
I personally use Obsidian. And I am like the Obsidian evangelizer. Like it is my life and soul, because I like part of my branding is that I am disabled. So I have autism and I also have aphantasia, which means that I have a blind mind's eye. So I have a terrible memory. I have the worst time like regurgitating information unless I know it solidly. Sorry, I kind of lost track of what I was talking about. Oh, I remember now. So I do this a lot because I have aphantasia, so I never know where we are in a conversation. Obsidian I use as my entire life operating system. Because my mind is so bad at remembering details and I can't visualize in my mind, I literally outsource my entire brain to Obsidian. I put all of my poetry in there. Like every time I have big feelings, I write it down all crazy, like very dramatic in ChatGPT, and ask it to turn it into a free verse poem. And then instead of sending the mean things that I want to send to other people, I just publish it as my own little poem in my book. So that helps me with like emotional regulation, because I have been known to say things that I shouldn't to other people, and that really helps me pause. And
Okay.
I feel the gratification from it because I'm making art. So I use Obsidian for literally every aspect of my life: daily planning, annual reviews, my memories. Every article that I read, it goes into an organized system that gets imported into there with all the highlights.
Right.
Every single thing that I learn, everything goes in there. It's like my life.
That's so real. I love Obsidian. I don't know if I'm the best with Obsidian. I've seen there's templates and like backlinks and knowledge graphs. Do you use any of those?
Yes, so I use all of those. One of my favorite things about my second brain is the beautiful knowledge graphs. It's like you can visually explore data. So like, I don't know, I could probably send you one. I just do like a recording of it or something.
That would be
But it looks like this really cool, like,
spider web.
Yes, it looks just like a spider web, but it has all these different pages that are connected via ideas. And mine just looks like, honestly, it looks like a neural network. If you look at a lot of AI and ML, it's literally like a reflection of a brain.
I have one, but they're just not connected because I don't really know how you would connect them. But I'm assuming when you're making a knowledge graph about like cybersecurity concepts, you might connect like one policy to another policy.
Yes. So it actually generates the graphs by itself. So I have set up my knowledge base to where that I have a section for every cybersecurity policy that I've come across. And whenever there is a keyword that is found within that cybersecurity policy, I will tag it to the entry for that keyword. So if there's something like about VPNs, it'll be attached to, like, I'm going to make this up, but NIST 365803 or something.
Ah, that was cool. Okay, we went on a little Obsidian rant, but because I'm just really interested in Obsidian as well. Looking ahead,
Okay.
what do you think the future of cybersecurity looks like in market aspiring professionals around my age, college age? How do you think they can prepare for it? Sorry.
Oh, so I really see cybersecurity shifting with AI. So I think a lot of the ways that people can start preparing is to start thinking about how people will use AI to harm others. So there is one specific, there's one specific thing going around that people are doing now where they're emulating people's voices and calling their loved ones using call spoofing, which for one, it's not, that's a different tangent. But all they have to do is call spoofing and then use AI to basically like emulate your voice. And they can call your families and tell them that you've been kidnapped or you're in all sorts of danger. And then because they're under the stress of danger, they'll just do whatever. And so one way that people can kind of protect themselves against that is to kind of research why people are doing this. Like, why is call spoofing available? How can I do it myself? Because it's scarily easy. It's terrifyingly easy to do this stuff. But start looking into that and really just get your foot in the door for these cybersecurity principles. Look around in the everyday life, because one of the big aspects that's going to be coming now is misinformation. Propaganda, that's a huge thing now. Like, if you understand media literacy, you'll be able to get around a lot of cybercrimes. But also, like, I think 98% of cybercrimes are come from password issues, unauthorized access like VPN, stuff like that. So I see it kind of evolving in more of a surveillance way, and B, kind of not in a good way. Like, I don't know how to phrase that. So cybersecurity is going to just keep getting worse. I don't know if you saw it last week, but I think it was it Microsoft? It wasn't Copilot. There was a specific Microsoft operating system that came out about how they recorded everything that your screen did. And it's like, for me, it would be a gold mine, like an absolute field day to find that kind of information. And so, like, the issues now that we're going to have is that other companies are mishandling your data. So that's going to be a big issue. I see cyber war is going to be a much bigger issue coming up soon, because one of the things that I noticed in the military was that we're shifting away from physical violence, and the majority of attacks from foreign governments are actually done on to infrastructure. So that's going to be a big thing too. People learning how to be a little bit more self-reliant in case the infrastructure does encounter some sort of trouble in the future. So I see that there's a whole lot of ways that cyber warfare can go, and for people who are maybe in college learning about cybersecurity, just start paying attention every time a new CVE comes out, which is like it's a term for like a professionally announced vulnerability in some sort of information system. Start paying attention to the details around it. Make sure that you are keeping up with patching your devices and understanding the limitations of it, because the same principles that you do will apply to enterprise security.
Nice, thank you. And is it right to say we can find some information on that from your knowledge graphs that you've published or your newsletter?
Sorry, I completely forgot what we were just talking about. Like, my amnesia kicked it. What was it?
You were saying that to prepare for the future of cybersecurity and how it's getting worse, we should get more familiar with CVEs and the things that are happening now so we can patch our computers and stuff like that. So is it right to assume that we can get some of that information on your published knowledge graphs and your newsletter?
So I usually don't publish CVEs because they tend to be applied more for enterprise solutions. But if people want to find information about CVEs, let me see where they come from.
Okay.
I don't see where do CVEs come from. I think it might be NIST.
Okay.
Okay, my internet's being really slow right now. So CVEs, you can find them on, I think, the official NIST page. So a CVE is basically every vulnerability that just gets publicly listed for people who work in cybersecurity to go and patch. And then if you do work in governance, risk, and compliance, a lot of your duties will be ensuring that everyone who works under you in like sub-accounts or something, they're all patching their devices so that they are no longer vulnerable to that specific exploit.
Right. That sounds great. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Addie. Do you have anything else that you might want to add?
No, not that I can think of. I appreciate it so much. But yeah, thank you.